We are in the Roxton Congregational Chapel, and I'm with Richard and Joyce Hooker. Hello.
Hello, nice to see you.
This is a remarkable building. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, the Metcalfe family, if you look over at the big red brick house, they converted one of their barns into a chapel in 1808. They used to worship at what is now the United Reformed Church in St Neots. And obviously, back in those days, it was quite an effort, especially in the winter, to get from Roxton over to St Neots. So they decided to convert a building in their own estate into what you see today, Roxton Congregational Chapel.
They've got their own box in here as well, haven't they?
That's right, yes. We've got a box, well, we've got 3 box pews, but the one with the stained glass window in it is the one that the family used. Obviously, they were big employers here, and they would have had their own workers come as the congregation, and they are slightly elevated here to emphasise their role in society, I suppose.
You mentioned the stained glass window, and that's something that's an unusual feature in congregational churches. Is that right?
That's right. Most chapels, congregational churches, we shouldn't really have stained glass. It should be more basic, if you like, a more basic form of worship, perhaps a little bit opposite to the Church of England at the time or the Catholic Church. So we're meant to be, well, as a congregational church, the church is meant to be led by the church meeting, who's guided by the Spirit, really. So you don't have the same levels of hierarchy. You don't have your bishops and other people. So yes, so we've got our stained glass windows, which, as I say, we perhaps shouldn't, strictly speaking, have. The one that you'll see on the north side is the stained glass window for the Good Samaritan. That dates back from the wartime. Our minister at the time, who was actually a teacher at Bedford Modern School, Prothero, Mr. Prothero, wasn't it? His son, Austin Prothero, he was chaplain in the wartime, and tradition has it that he was in Gibraltar, a ship in a harbour got bombed, and he went from the harbour into the ship to help get wounded people off of the ship, and in doing that lost his own life. Obviously, this was really distressing for his father, and he had this window put in memory of his son.
It is a remarkable piece of work, very, very delicate features. The second stained glass window, that's also remarkable for quite different reasons. You've got some beautiful birds in there.
Yes, the second stained glass window is commemorating Philip Charles Bath. The Bath family took over the ownership of the big house that was the Metcalfes. There was other people in between, but the Bath family are the people who are there at the moment. And Philip Charles Bath was the last one to regularly come to the chapel and use the box pew. And then when he died, his family had another stained glass window put in. This time we've got St Francis of Assisi with the animals. This is, again, would have been looked down upon to have like a Catholic saint in a window, but nowadays people don't mind so much. And this was picked because Philip Charles Bath, he was a big farmer and he used to like the wildlife and what have you. So that was put in his memory. And an interesting tale about that is how one of the people working on this window, who had retired and just sort of helped out when they were completing this window, told one of our deacons at the time that he was actually an apprentice when the other stained glass window of the Good Samaritan was created, and he did work on that as well. So you've got that connection between the 2 windows as well.
Having a building like this has taken, it needs repairing every now and again, it needs maintenance, and that costs money. And you've been very fortunate. A few years ago, you were able to get some money to get it renovated because it was in a bad state.
That's right. The chapel originally was owned by, as we said, the Metcalfe family, who funded it and looked after it. So did the next owners. And then when the Bath family took over the estate, they actually gifted the chapel to what was then the Congregational Union in the 1920s. So from that point, the chapel has had to sort of look after itself. And then, obviously, as time's gone on, we've needed grants to be able to keep going. Our big restoration was in the 1990s when my father did an awful lot to obtain grants. And at that point, we were really on a knife edge and we were deciding whether we would close or whether we would stay open. And then we decided to stay open, which caused a bit of heartache in that the only way we could do it was to apply for a lottery grant, which meant in a way you were getting money from gambling, which wasn't really, well, there was no option. It was either do that or close. So we went for the grant. We were able to get it. There was a huge amount of work done, a new thatched roof, repairs to the walls, a lot of repairs to the walls. Actually, if you look at the Good Samaritan stained glass window, you could actually lean against that and the whole wall would rock because the bottom of it was so rotten. The balcony, if you come inside at one of our events, you'll see that it slopes slightly towards that side, because at that point the balcony was holding up the wall rather than the wall holding up the balcony. So we've had an awful lot of work done in the 1990s. I remember my dad saying about the sleepless nights he had when there was only tarpaulin over the north wing schoolroom. There was no roof on it. It was just bare beams. And some of the repair work that needed doing on that side came about when they were stripping the thatch. They were actually pulling away bits of rotten timber with the rotten thatch. So there was a huge amount of work done on that side. But luckily, due to lottery grant, we were able to get that done. The downside of that was that it proved to be that the actual thatch that they used, the materials weren't the good quality that they should have been, and therefore it deteriorated far faster. So then again, we had to do a second restoration, this time just the roof, not the walls. That again involved going back to the lottery, and it was rather annoying that so much more work had to be done again. But this time it was done in Norfolk Reed, and it was done by a gentleman who was the chief thatcher for the National Trust, and he was really interested in making as good a job as he possibly could of it. So we're satisfied that it'll last quite a long time now.
Well, that sounds like good news. You mentioned a schoolroom, is that right? So there used to be perhaps some kind of schooling going on here, maybe Sunday school or something?
Right. The two wings were built later. The one to the north was built as a day school, as we understand. The one to the south was built as the Sunday school room. When we were researching for the book of our 200th anniversary, which was obviously 2008, we did some digging about and found amongst the items in the back, we found an old library book that was actually issued by the Metcalfe family for those that could read to borrow. So presumably that had some link to the schoolroom that we've, the schoolrooms that we've got on both sides. In the north one, there is actually a little bench on the wall that will prop up, which obviously dates back to that time.
And there's something else that really caught my eye in this place, and that's the organ you have. Originally, that's not actually from a church, is it?
No, our organ is quite a special organ, really. That's Philip Charles Bath, who the stained glass window in the box pew is a remembrance of. He actually had agents looking for an organ for the chapel during the wartime, and there was we believe a big house in London that got blitzed, and this organ came from that. We've always been told it dated back to 1800, but somebody was writing a book and they looked at it and they thought it was a little later than that. But either way, you can tell it's from a grand house. It's a rosewood organ. It gives quite, I know I'm very biased, but it gives what I think is a very nice tone. And yes, it's quite something to hear. If you're ever around and get to one of our services, it's played almost every service, so you should get to hear it.
Yeah, I thought it was a wonderful sound. And there's something else quite intriguing that you said that you can feel the indentations from the use of it.
Yes, that's true. The white notes, if you look at the keyboard, you can see how the black notes are ebony and the white notes are either ivory or bone. And the main notes that get used a lot, you can actually feel the indentations of, well, I suppose about 200 years worth of wear as people have pressed those down, yes.
If anybody wants to come and visit, you have services every other Sunday, is that right?
It's pretty much every other Sunday, but not absolute. It's always safest to check our website, and also you'll find on the notice board at the gate, you'll find when the next service is going to be. But yes, we have some sort of coffee morning event the second Tuesday of the month, and pretty much every other Sunday is a service, but it's not always every other Sunday, which is why I say do check our website and and see. Also, our times change with the clocks, so we're 6 p.m. in summertime and 3 p.m. in wintertime.
Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.